Never in history have so many recognized and respected journalists gathered in one place at one time. That time is now. That place is ABC News. No wonder more Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
KOCO Channel 5, Oklahoma City. This is 5 News at 6.
Veto, veto, veto. Well, I've got news for him. We're going to veto him in November 1996.
Republican frontrunner Bob Dole hits the campaign trail, cutting a path right through Oklahoma today, and he's gunning for President Clinton.
Good evening, I'm Cherokee Ballard.
And I'm Scott Wittitz. Thanks so much for joining us for 5 News at 6. He may not have been in Dallas last night, but Senator Bob Dole made sure he was in Oklahoma City this morning for hundreds of his supporters.
Oklahomans and Kansans came out in numbers for the presidential hopeful. The Republican candidate told the crowd what he stood for and asked for their support on Tuesday. Cindy Garza was at the rally and has the story.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud to introduce to you a personal friend, an outstanding leader, and I really do believe the next President of the United States, Bob Dole.
But Senator Bob Dole didn't need an introduction today because he was preaching to the choir. Hundreds of supporters came out to hear more of what their presidential candidate had to say. Even though he really didn't bash his Republican opponents, he didn't pass up any jabs toward President Clinton.
There's still a couple of other candidates in the race. They have every right to stay as long as they want. But I believe it's time to unify the party, trying to bring the party together and start beating Bill Clinton.
Dole said Clinton has vetoed Republican bills on balancing the budget, welfare reform, and tax cuts. He said Clinton will soon get his.
Veto, veto, veto. Well, I've got news for him. We're going to veto him in November 1996.
Dole also told the crowd he wants a flatter tax system and believes there should be voluntary prayer in schools. He said if elected, he'll see to it that juveniles are tried as adults and that there be no parole for violent crime offenders. Dole said he has a message for the many immigrants who come to America and don't speak English.
But this is America. English is our language, and people ought to learn the English language.
After the rally, we asked Dole how he felt about affirmative action.
Those who discriminate ought to be punished. We shouldn't have discrimination in America, but neither should we have preferences or quotas in America. Everybody ought to be able to get there because of their talent.
When it was all over, Dole shook many hands and signed autographs, hoping he convinced those who hadn't made a decision to vote for him. Cindy Garza, 5 News.
Oklahomans at the rally endorsing Dole were Senators Jim Inhofe and Don Nichols, former Governor Henry Bellman, and Congressman Frank Lucas. Dole's appearance at the Cowboy Hall of Fame wasn't his only stop in Oklahoma. He left Oklahoma City and headed straight to Tulsa, where he spoke to a crowd of about 500 in an airport hangar. And Monday, Republican hopeful Pat Buchanan will be here. He will appear in Del City at Christian Heritage Academy at 7 o'clock. That's Christian Heritage Academy at 4400 Southeast 27th.
For most people around here, the big issue for voters is State Question 669. The controversial issue has been the center of attention for people for and against it for months now. Gina Peterson talked with many voters today and joins us in the newsroom. Gina.
Scott, 669 is confusing to most, but many have made up their minds on the issue and are ready to cast their ballot on Tuesday.
I think they've made it very confusing for the public. You hear one story on one hand, and the other hand, you just don't know. As for myself, I'm going to have to read it for myself. Either when I go to vote, I'll stand there in the booth and read it right there, or if I can get a hold of a paper that's got it.
I myself, we're in the construction business, and that's going to put a stop to all new home building, and I don't think that's fair to us. I mean, that's going to put a lot of people like us out of work.
I hope it passes. I really do. And then I think that'll put us on the right track for getting a lot more things done for our community because we want it, not because someone is telling us we should have it.
I think we need to get control of our property taxes. Mine went up, my personal property went up about nearly twice this year without any reason for it.
I was going to vote against it.
Why's that?
Because I think it'll cut funding for the schools.
State Question 669 is by far one of the most controversial issues to hit Oklahoma in years. It's also one of the most confusing. That's why 5 News is holding an hour-long forum tonight dealing with that state question. David Allen will be the moderator, and he joins us now from our election studio where we'll hold tonight's forum. David, what's on tap tonight?
Well, Gene, I have to tell you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people have called us here at 5 News to tell us they're confused about State Question 669. We've all been bombarded with ads from both sides in the past couple of weeks. There are a lot of issues involved here, everything from education to business, and we want to help sort it all out for you, the voter. So tonight at 7 o'clock, 3 people on each side of the issue will join me here to answer questions from a live studio audience. We'll explain the issue, then we'll give each side a chance to present its positions. From there, we'll open the forum to the audience so people like you can ask questions about this confusing State Question 669. Again, the forum is right here in the 5 News studios tonight from 7 to 8. You don't want to miss it. And that's not all. 5 News has commissioned Mason Dixon to poll voters in our state to see where you stand on the issue. We'll have the results of that exclusive poll tonight during our live forum. We hope you will join us for that. Scott and Cherokee?
All right, David, thank you very much. Moving now to southeastern Oklahoma, folks are worried about the safety of their kids because of a sewage problem at an elementary school. The problem is in Rattan. That's where raw sewage is pouring into a ditch near the school's playground. School officials say the sewage is coming from a cafeteria dishwasher, but environmental specialists looking into the problem say the sewage is in fact coming from the entire school. One parent says this has been going on since 1991. The Rattan superintendent promises the mess will be cleaned up by the summer. Well, we've been hearing a lot lately about child abuse involving babysitters.
Today, we're hearing about a case where the child was actually abusing the babysitter. A 21-year-old Dallas woman alleges the 4-year-old in her care struck her in the throat, crushing her larynx. Now, she claims she lost her voice and had to enroll in a sign language course, which caused her to have to drop out of college. Now, she is suing the 4-year-old and his parents. She's asking for $177,000. Well, it's a sad day in the entertainment world. Just weeks after celebrating his 100th birthday, comedian George Burns has died.
Burns had been battling his health since 1994, and today, unfortunately, he lost that battle. George Burns' legendary career spanned an unbelievable 90 years. It all started in vaudeville in 1903. He starred in countless television shows and movies and shared the spotlight with his wife, Gracie, for more than 30 years. He will probably be best remembered for his trademark cigar. A private funeral is scheduled for Tuesday, and we don't even need to say it, but he will be missed by all. We'll be back right after this.
A 12-hour hijacking ended peacefully today with all 109 hostages released and the suspect in custody. He used a fake gun. The gunman commandeered the plane when it took off from the Mediterranean island of Cyprus. After threatening to blow it up, the plane landed in Bulgaria. The plane then took off and landed again in Munich, Germany. The hijacker is apparently a Turkish man trying to draw attention to the plight of Chechen rebels in Russia. Police say the 21-year-old had a fake gun and no bombs.
People in London are recovering from yet another bombing there last night. No one was injured in the attack, but it blew out windows and left a crater in a concrete wall. The bombing has some characteristic markings of an Irish Republican Army attack, but so far no one is claiming responsibility. This is the 3rd bombing in London in a month. The IRA set off the first 2, which killed a total of 3 people.
Well, coming up next on 5 News, it was a picture-perfect ending to a not-so-perfect mission, really.
But after 16 long days, the Space Shuttle Columbia touched down this morning despite technical and weather delays. And Ron Roberts will take a look at our own weather problems. Ron.
Well, Cherokee, we had those clouds around today, and then we even saw a few snow flurries around, but that's out of here tomorrow. Nights warm up on the way, and the breezes increase as well. Get ready for a nice forecast in just a minute.
A trouble-plagued shuttle mission successfully landed back on Earth today.
The Space Shuttle Columbia completed its 16-day journey, its 3rd longest mission. Columbia touched down at Kennedy Space Center in Florida this morning, but today's successful return was not without fault. Bad weather delayed the return home by 1 day. Early in the mission, an electricity-generating satellite was lost in space, and that was followed by a landing system failure.
I wonder if it was chilly there this morning as it was here. Ew, it's really...
Did you get up this morning to see it come back? You know,
No, I did not get up
you
and
didn't
watch
get up 6:30 to see it, did you, Scott?
No.
Did you?
Did you get up to see the satellite?
No, I
That's
didn't.
what I figured.
At 6:30 this morning, it was too cloudy anyway. I'm glad I didn't try. It was it turned out to be cloudy and cold today. Even saw a few of those snow flurries. No, that wasn't grass falling from the sky. There were a few snow flurries earlier today. But in Oklahoma City, we cleared up enough this afternoon to warm up to a high of 42 degrees. Low this morning of 14, although not a record low for this date. We came awfully close to 11, set back in 1932. And the cold temperatures were not only here in the metro area, but to the east of us, actually out west with southerly winds. It warmed up 20 degrees this morning in Guyman, while it was 8 degrees in Tulsa and Ponca City at 6 degrees. Well, we've warmed up, a little bit of sunshine this afternoon and southerly winds blowing through here. El Reno 45 degrees, while Mangum it's about 52, Woodward 52 degrees as well. Goodwill out in the Panhandle area, 54. Here in the metro, it's clearing up a little bit now, partly cloudy, 38 degrees. Dew point temperature 14 degrees, so it's dry out there. Humidity 37%, southeast winds at 7 miles per hour. Pressure is falling and no precipitation today. Satellite picture, notice mostly clear conditions across the western half of the country, except right here, little weak disturbance moves from north to south across Oklahoma, and that's what created the light snow. Out west, there's plenty of warm air here. You notice how the clouds are moving from south to north. There's a big old upper high out here, so we have warm air that's building, and it is moving eastward toward us. Really the only precipitation across the country back down here in Florida. As a matter of fact, that's where it's going to be tomorrow. They have a good chance of rain in Florida, heavy rains as a matter of fact, but most of the rest of the nation will be clear. Area low pressure just to the west of us will develop, and the winds will turn to the south. We'll see sunshine, and we will warm up, especially across the western half of the country. Look at this. 88 degrees, Phoenix, Arizona tomorrow afternoon. A good indication of things to come. While here in Dallas-Fort Worth area, 59 degrees. To the north of us, Omaha, around 50. So warmer air will continue to spread eastward across the state of Oklahoma tomorrow from around 63 in Woodward, 64 degrees in Lawton. Altus is 66 or so. Here in the metro area, 58. The cool spots will be around Tulsa at 56. Well, my forecast for the rest of the evening then, clearing and cold, low temperatures of 22. The winds will be light tonight. Then tomorrow, let's warm it up to high of around 58. South winds 12 to 20, occasionally breezy. Tomorrow night, mostly clear. Temperatures again around 36. South winds 10 to 20. And here's a 5-day forecast, and yeah, it looks pretty good actually. 68 degrees by Monday. Mid-70s by Tuesday and Wednesday, and the winds will become a little breezy, and we'll see if maybe a chance of thunderstorms in here by Wednesday or Thursday. That chance of storms, though, pretty slim.
Pretty slim, 74 degrees
We'll take
again.
anything, though.
Absolutely.
Oh, we'll take the warmer temperatures. Oh, I'm ready.
I am too. All right, thank you very much, Ron. Well, there's a lot going on the hardwood today, including some record-breaking games.
Coming up next, Sean Kimmerling has the scoop on John Marshall's domination in 5A sports. That and much more next.
Having grown up in Oklahoma, I know what a big deal high school basketball and what a day today.
Yeah, and better to talk about high school basketball than the Big 8 tournament. Because
well, yeah, I was trying to avoid that.
Talk about that. Last December, John Marshall capped an unbeaten football season, winning the state championship. Today, the Bears trying to become the first prep team in state history to win both football and basketball titles without losing a game. The Bears in the white uniform started slowly but gained speed. Joe Atkins, that is going to be a miss, but watch Reggie Tate right there for the follow tip. Now watch a play typical of the John Marshall season. Tony Hurd, the no-look pass that fakes everybody out, but Tate, who's right there alone for the score. And Cherokee says, Sean, show me that one more time. So indeed I will. There he is, Tate for the bucket. The Scots did make a run for it early in the second half. Terrell Anderson to Derek Taylor for the slam right there. But in the end, John Marshall wins 71-60, giving them an unbeaten basketball title to go with their unbeaten football crown. Coach Johnny Griffin said he was delighted.
We really are. I tell you what, it's more than delight. We've been blessed to get good athletes, and these kids are really, these men are really good. I mean, they're like my own sons. I love them. I chew them out. We laugh. We cry together. But, you know, this is right now is one of those times where we've laughed more than we've cried. Last year, we cried more than we laughed.
Well, earlier in the day, it was the Norman Lady Tigers taking the first half of what they hope will be a rare daily double. Norman in the dark uniforms, and it's Ann Remy with the steal at midcourt, and she's going all the way for the layup. Really no contest for Coach Sherry Cole and her Lady Tigers, who run away with the state title, beating Sapulpa 73-35. Well, the Norman boys can make it a perfect sweep for the Tigers tonight. Mick Cornett and Mark Ockerbloom will call the action on Channel 5. They join us now, and guys, what can we expect out there?
All right, Sean, thank you very much. Well, Championship Saturday has lived up to its billing, Mick Cornett. First of all, that 5A boys game, John Marshall taking it home, a perfect season.
Well, they won in overtime yesterday and got a resounding victory today over a very good Tulsa McLean team.
As we speak, Claremore versus Carl Albert, the queens of 5A, if you will, being decided here tonight.
Well, and Paige Sauer, 6'5" for Carl Albert. She's a great player, one of the best players in the state. There you see her out in the middle of the floor, and Carl Albert with a 17-5 lead over the Lady Zebras in the second quarter.
And as Sean alluded to, coming up at 8 o'clock right here on Channel 5, Tulsa, Washington trying to defend its championship, and they will have a stiff test tonight from Norman trying to go for the double.
Well, Norman's playing very well, but are they good enough? That's what people here want to know, and we'll find out at 8 o'clock.
That's right. Tulsa with the Twin Towers, that and more coming up tonight at 8, so keep it right here. Sean, back to you.
All right, guys, check back with you later. Bit closer to home, 6 state champions have been crowned or will be crowned by tonight at the State Fairgrounds. Star Spencer and Veneta for the 4A boys title. Watch the Bobcats. Harold Smith with a nice move under the bucket for 2. The fans like it. Then it's John Hart, the lay-in for a couple of points. The Hornets down by 5 as time runs out, and 64-59 the final score. Another state title for Coach Johnny Johnson and the Star Spencer Bobcats. 3A boys, Wowoka head coach Jim Matthews on all fours, praying for another state title. That's Marcus Roberts to Paul Jones for the layup. Medill trying to close the gap. James Thompson, the turnaround jumper. That's sweet. Wowoka's Roberts, however, would hit 7 of 8 free throws in the final minute to give the Tigers their second state crown. 73-65, the final over Medill. Class 3A girls, Fairview and Inola. Inola's Drake Selmeyer strikes first, the 2-point jumper, but Fairview quickly comes back. Kayleen Witcher, watch her take the long outlet pass, then can the jumper. The game went down to the wire before Inola pulled out the state championship 49-47. Well, as you can tell, since I am here and not in Kansas City, that both Oklahoma and Oklahoma State were eliminated from the Big 8 basketball tournament. Cowboys were a miserable 6 of 20 from the free throw line, losing to Kansas State 58-55. Meanwhile, the Sooners played to a thrilling finish with Missouri. OU comes out and takes a 10-point first-half lead. Tyrone Foster the tray, but OU blows that lead. The Tigers storm back to take a 1-point advantage at halftime. Second half, OU again goes on a scoring binge. Ryan Miner, 2 of his 15 points. The Sooners up by 8. But again, that lead vanishes. The Tigers up by 3 with time expiring in regulation. Check out Nate Erdman to tie the game, and we're headed to overtime. In the OT, all tied up at 87. Watch the shot clock and watch Derek Grimm, the three-pointer that gives the Tigers the lead for good. And just like that, the Sooners gone from the tournament, leaving a bad taste in the mouth of head coach Kelvin Sampson.
It's really bad for our players right now, so I'm sure when I'd like for these kids to continue to play. I'd hate to look back at the season and say, well, you know, this game cost us an NCAA bid.
Don't think that it did. The Sooners and the Cowboys now have to wait and see what the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee does tomorrow. OU's in pretty good shape, but that proverbial bubble might have burst on the Pokes yesterday at Kemper. Well, believe it or not, without OU and OSU, the Big 8 tournament did continue. Kansas State and Kansas in one semi this afternoon. That's Jacques Vaughn. That's what Players of the Year are supposed to do. The Cats hang surprisingly tough. Mark Young, K-State hanging in there, but in the end, too much Kansas. Jared Haas finishes the 4-on-1 break, and Kansas is going to play in the championship game, beating K-State 61-55. In the other semi today, Missouri and Iowa State, the Cyclones trail in the second half, but come back to beat the Tigers. Iowa State and Kansas tomorrow for the title just afternoon.
Oh, boy.
And unfortunately, I have some more bad news to report. Oklahoma bounced from the Big 8 tournament yesterday, and what could be worse than that? They lose to Texas today in Austin. The Pokes do win at baseball.
Wow, we'll be right back. Golly.
If you're still confused about state question 669, hopefully you'll get some answers tonight. You don't want to miss our special form 669, freeze or fraud. It is set to begin in about a half an hour. Coming up tonight at 10, we'll see what our audience and call-in viewers wanted to know most about the controversial issue, plus a complete wrap-up of the forum.
A block of wood, a set of wheels, and imaginations run wild. It's full speed ahead at the annual Pine Derby race. Cub Scouts from all over take part in the racing event. Troopers are from Pack 341, and just look at some of the father-son creations. From pencils to Batmobiles, the Oscar Mayer Wiener. Come on, sing it for me, Scott. And even they made an appearance, and while there are winners in each age division from sights and sounds, it looks like everyone is a wiener. No, winner. Isn't that what it said?
Right. I had one, Green Hornet. That's what mine was. Yes.
Fell off the track.
We'll see you back here after the game.
Really, I couldn't keep it on the track.
The closed captioning portion of this newscast was made possible by Mathis Brothers Furniture, America's best value, 3434 West Reno.
Monday, 6 a.m., a new treatment for asthma sufferers that struck free.